Good evening, everybody. It is the time for the Pissed Off Parent Show. I am Dwayne Ward, your pissed off parent. And tonight we are going to be looking at two of the equal shared parenting bills that have been filed. I think one was last week, one was actually today. And I gave a kind of a brief summary of them, actually earlier show when I found out about it. And just kind of want to do a deeper dive tonight, actually asking for audience participation, questions, comments. Kind of the theme that we're going with here is we're going to go ahead and pull up both the bills, start looking through that, start looking at who's sponsoring the bill or who submitted the bill. Maybe get into some transparency.org stuff here. I'll, of course, have links out there. And then just some other things that are happening right now in the equal shared parenting. There's actually been a lot of activity and want to get that information out to you. So without further wasting time and getting around that, and I may be joined later, not sure. I was hoping to have a few other folks join and kind of have more of a panel discussion, but I guess issues with conflicting schedules and time, but we'll see if we have any late arrivals. We'll see how that goes. Let's see here. We got, actually, thank you, Jeff, for getting the message out to some of the other folks. Again, we want to have everybody's input on this because we really want to look at these two bills, see which ones make sense. We're actually going to talk about, I was asked actually earlier, kind of the process that a bill goes through in both the House and the Senate, and I have some diagrams in crayon even that will kind of walk you through that process, and also some links and other information there. So, all right. So without further messing around here, let's dive into it. Let me pull the screen up here. So and actually, let me go ahead and for people that want to follow along in their books, let me pull up the first bill 3379. So if you take your handy dandy phone out and put that on there, you can actually go to the link and view it yourself. If you don't believe what I'm doing, or you just want to kind of do it on your own at a later time or whatever, you can do that. I'll actually be popping up different things for different things we're going to be talking about tonight. And I try to, provide as much information as I can, let you, the informed voter, either informed voter makes an informed decision, or the uninformed voter get informed and then make an informed decision, because we need to, definitely make some changes here. There's no doubt about it. It is actually real crazy at this point. That's kind of all I can say about it. I'll do a kind of a shameless plug. Before I get in, boy, it's one of those, there's so much information. I try to get it out, but I wanted to actually thank everybody on actually all the different channels that this streams to. I'm getting something like 200,000 or something views. And I was checking some information, and that's I think a direct result of people liking, sharing, subscribing, and doing those different things. Let me actually just put my site up there for Pissed Off Parent. Again, free information there. And then of course there's the YouTube channel and that. And actually, if you could, kind of a weird thing on the YouTube channel, I've got 666 subscribers. I don't know. Just can I get one more just to kind of knock it off the 666 thing? I mean, that's superstition, whatever. But please, I kind of want to get off of there. But yeah, anyway, getting a lot of views. And Joe, yeah, thank you. Yes, it is great. Again, a lot of all of this kind of comes from me. I mean, yeah, I kind of have the tech nerd stuff. But really it's you guys that are liking, sharing, watching, subscribing, and consuming that content. I've been talking about the algorithm forever and all that. And I know people are like, oh God, let's share this again, whatever. But the data is there. It's showing, and actually on the Pissed Off Parent page, I included a screenshot of some of the data that's coming through. This is their data, not mine. And it's really cool. Let's see. Actually, Father X. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Touche. You got me on that one. 666 subs is appropriate. Let's make it 6,666 and put a period in there. I know that there was a joke in there somewhere. Yeah, if this information is getting out there. And we've got a lot of work to do. Obviously, we got, I don't know how many millions of Texans and people across the country. Even if you're not, in Texas, this will be coming to a courtroom and a legislator near you because they see these numbers, and I can put that up there. All right, let's jump in here. William, thank you. William Joseph Zotnek, thank you very much for subscribing. Get me off that 666 number. I appreciate it. Okay, let's dive in here. Again, I so much information I get kind of discombobulated here. But all right, let's looking at HB 3379, and it is the bill. It was submitted last Friday actually by David Cook. Let me go ahead and put his mug up here. There we go, so everybody can see that's David Cook. Now again, I'm not going to make bones about it. I've had issues with him. He's actually submitted a number of other bills. Not a fan. And he's submitted some other ones. I mean, it's one of those things. And again, we'll get into the, I mean, if you guys will bear with me, I will get into the transparency.org and other follow the money stuff and walk you through how much money we're talking about and what's really going on behind the scenes. I mean, there's a lot of free information out there, and these tools, which I'll again include for anyone to use. It's free. You can go out there and do the research yourself, become an informed voter, and hopefully put an end to this nonsense. All right. Mr. Cook. All right. He submitted a bill back on last Friday, and it's basically, and I guess I'll kind of quickly go through the bills, both of them, and then we can kind of come back and compare, contrast. And again, put your comments, questions, things in there that you can and we can talk about that, and again, I'm sure we'll have some other experts in the field that'll be in the chat line. Again, we're on YouTube, actually we're on a number of different channels, but we'll be able to get answers to that. I'll try to put those up on the screen and try to be very interactive there, and because again, I want to educate and entertain a bit as I can. So what we have here for the 33791 is he's talking about equal rights at the time of dissolution, and again, we're talking about marriage. Okay, let me back up. I'll sit there and get stuck at every section here, and we'll be here for 12 hours. Well, at least I will be. I know you guys will go home. So if parents reside in a reasonable proximity to each other, allocate rights of equal or nearly equal periods of physical possession of and access to the child. So again, if they live 20 miles or whatever that magical number is, they don't define it, that they'll have equal time. Currently the standard is expanded standard, which is kind of around a 40% number. To that equal shared parenting, 35 to 40. It all depends on the elections and how you do it in the year and all that. And then, of course, we have the standard, which is still being used. It's weird. I do a lot of court watching throughout the day through the few judges that still allow it because they have nothing to hide. And I still see a lot of standards getting thrown out there. But that's a whole other show, a whole other discussion. All right. So the best interest of the child, and this is another one. All right, in terms of the best interest of the child, in addition to any other factors the court is required to consider under this chapter or other law, the court shall consider the following factors. Child's wishes as to conservatorship, possession, or access. It doesn't really talk about that 12-year-old thing, but anyway, that again, we'll dive into that part. The child's current and future emotional and physical needs. Let's see, any current or future emotion or physical danger to the child. Interesting. The parenting abilities of the parties seeking conservatorship or possession of or access to the child, the programs available to assist the parties seeking conservatorship or possession of or access to the child, the plans for the child of any person seeking conservatorship or possession of or access to the child, the stability of any proposed placement, any act or omission by a parent seeking conservatorship or possession of or access to the child that may indicate the parent does not act in the best interest of the child. That could be interesting. Definitely preserving that on the record. Any explanation, let me just roll that up there. Any explanation for the parent's act or omissions described by subdivision 8, and then any other factor the court considers relevant to the determination. That's kind of a clearinghouse there. Again, talks about equal parenting, modifying the language, talks to the notwithstanding any other provision in this chapter and except as otherwise provided by the subsection. If the court renders an order appointing the parenting or the parents as joint managing conservators under this section, the parent resides, here's that 20 miles, resides 20 miles or less apart, the court shall render an equal parenting order under subchapter F1, providing for equal or nearly equal periods of physical possession of the child unless the court determines and enters a finding of fact on the record specifying that equal or nearly equal periods of physical possession are not in the best interest of the child, in which case the court may enter, just say whatever they want to. It just, it says standard or expanded standard or whatever they decide on. And we know how that goes. Let's see. I'm just kind of getting to the high level piece of that. Let me actually put up the actual bill. So if you want to dig in on your own, there we go. There we go. That's pulled up there, so you can peruse or click on that and then actually look at the bill on your own. If I'm going too fast or whatever. So we have a rebuttable presumption, and basically saying it's in the best interest of the child. If the court renders an order appointing the parents, joint managing conservators, and the parents reside 20 miles or less apart, there is a rebuttable presumption that the equal parenting order under subchapter F1 is in the best interest of the child. If the court finds that the equal parenting order under subchapter F1 is not in the best interest of the child, the presumption provided by subsection A applies. And we probably need to, pull up the family code and dig into that if we, are so led to. Okay, so when they reside, equal parenting order for joint managing conservators who reside 20 miles or less apart. It's basically, and I think it's just restating kind of the same thing at 20 miles apart. Designation of conservators under equal parenting. It just kind of goes in that. It talks about reference to school and equal parenting order. In the subchapter period of possession, okay, we're talking about the days that they would get. When they would end, when they begin, and basically it's going with the school schedule, so you don't have to look at your ex. You drop them off at school, they pick them up, and then vice versa. And then you have the mutual agreement or specified terms of possession. This is all just kind of the legalese stuff that is thrown in there to make it longer. Okay, weekends. I'm just kind of quickly going through just so we're not here for 3 hours, because one thing I've seen with some of David Cook's stuff is it's a little wordy. Sometimes it makes sense. This is just, again, talking about the school schedule. Let's see, under equal parenting order. Yeah, it's all about the who has possession when. It's basically restating the same thing, and then the days, how it switches for holidays and things of that nature, how that will work. So it's being specific to that. Father's Day, Mother's Day, all that typical stuff. An order of child support rendered for child is a subject of an equal parenting order. Okay, it's just more of the same. Of course, they got to talk about child support obligation. They're going to go ahead and apply. The court shall first apply the child support guidelines with respect to each parent without regard to the other, and then subtract the amount of child support determined under the guidelines for the parent, who would be obligated to pay the lesser of the two amounts from the amount of child support determined for the parent, who would be obligated to pay the greater amount. In short, actually, I had essentially that. I was one of the less than 5% of Texas fathers that had equal shared parenting because I bought and paid for it. I still paid $1,000 a month in child support, which I'm glad that was then, because if Harold Dutton gets his way, they're going to be lifting the cap on that. So that number will be going up. I think to $30,000 a month, which I thought was kind of weird. Let's see here. All right. So I think that's pretty much everything for that bill. So I think this kind of did a quick, again, cursory overview of that. And then flipping over here to Mays Middleton, let me pull his graphic up so you can take a look at his smiling face. Actually, I tried to find one with just him, but I believe, his daughter. So that's Mays. You may remember the name Mays Middleton. He was a gentleman that introduced HB 803 in the last session, had something like 1920 or so co-signers and people that signed on to it. So it was I think, one of the most popular bills that had come out, but obviously it did not go anywhere. All right, so Middleton. This is the one that was actually filed today. Talking about equal parenting order. Equal parenting order means an order that provides both parents of a child who are joint managing conservators with the rights of equal or nearly equal periods of physical possession of and access to the child in accordance with section 153.135. And actually, I have the law pulled up there. So a lot of this stuff talks about just the equal or near equal, and the parenting order is more of a summary, not as many words in his. Talks about the joint managing conservators. Let's see. There's really not. Again, it's just saying joint managing conservators, unless the court determines and enters findings of fact on the record specifying that an equal parenting order. Okay, this is where it's a little bit. It's, I guess, dresses it out more. But he's saying here, we got a finding of fact, so the judge actually has to write these, which is important because then you can go on appeals, and that's preserved in the record, and then you can make sure that the judge did what they were supposed to do. But Let's see. An equal parenting order is unworkable or inappropriate due to the work schedule or other special circumstances of a managing conservator or the child, or the school schedule of the child. If the guy's a airline attendant or something, or a pilot or whatever, and he's going to be gone 15 days out of the month. Again, that's well, something we can talk about. See if that makes sense. Equal or nearly equal periods of physical possession and access are not in the best interest of the child. There's that old best interest of the child. And I did find some information on that for Texas. It was interesting, and we'll hopefully dive into that. If the court determines under subsection A that the equal parenting order is unworkable or inappropriate or not in the best interest of the child, the court may enter a standard possession order under subchapter F, including an expanded standard possession order under section 153.3171. If applicable, if the court finds that the standard possession order is unworkable or inappropriate, the court may modify the standard possession order as provided by section 153.253. If the court finds that the standard possession order is not in the best interest of the child, the court may run an order that the court finds to be in the best interest of the child as provided by section 153.256. We can, go in there if we decide to go down that piece, we can actually see what's being done here. In short, the judge can decide what, what's the best interest of the child, is kind of the high level there. This is the part, and I'm just going to read it and then we'll get back into it. And again, start, throwing your questions out there, or concerns or anything that you have on these, just so you don't forget them, and we can definitely talk about them. This part here is interesting. It says here, the court shall render an order appropriate under the circumstances for the possession of a child less than 3 years of age, as provided by section 153.254a, which does not need to provide equal or nearly equal periods of possession of or access to a child to both joint managing conservators. The court shall render a prospective order to take effect on the child's third birthday, which presumptively will be an equal parenting order. And I'm hoping someone throws something in the chat about this part of the bill that, to say good, bad, or otherwise. I'm hoping it's bad. But that part's in there for some reason. Let's see. This is okay. Minimum possession. You got the possessor. Okay. And then that's it. And of course, it takes effect September 1st, 2023. So that's basically both of the bills. And I know I kind of quickly went through them. I mean, in summary, both bills, talk to kind of where they're alike, as they talk to an equal shared parenting bill, subject to the judge's whims. They both have a finding of fact in it. David Cook's bill talks to a 20-mile radius, which I get it. But the 20-mile radius to make that, one of the requirements for equal shared parenting. And let's see, I'm trying to think any of the other little gotchas that are in there. I think that was most of them for his. He was just talking about, well, of course, we talked about child support, changing that around. And then, of course, a specific order, that. And, of course, they both have that judge's discretion to do whatever they want to do. Now, May's Middletons, has some of the same things, but, talks about the unworkability of it if it does, doesn't work. But the big one for me was that 3-year-old. This part is kind of one of the things that kind of had an issue with. I wish we had Dr. Brooks McKenzie on, since he has quite a bit of knowledge on that. I don't know if he's out there, but from his research, and I hope I don't misquote him, and hopefully he will join in or comment. But the way he lays it out is, and actually he did well. It's kind of like this. Let's see, he actually had published a document here, but it doesn't go to this extent in this document. It just talks about, the separation piece of it, but, it goes to that, actually 36 months to be, with the parents. But some of his research had shown that, and again, I wish he was able to talk to it specifically. Maybe we can get just a kind of a follow-up with him. But in the early years, not the Holly factors, the tender years doctrine. There we go. The child will actually benefit more to a degree with the mother, because again, there's breastfeeding and certain things that the woman is better able to handle. And then as time goes on, I believe it's around 7. The time then really goes almost exclusively to having the father having really 100% of the time, because the child benefits most with being with the father after a certain age. That is again, I wish he was on to talk to that, because he could probably explain it a heck of a lot better than I could. But the data that he's talked about in the past has those timelines in there. And if we're going to have the 3-year piece in here, we probably should just put the rest of it. But of course, it probably wouldn't have a chance on passing. But I do see some other some comments in here. Let me go ahead and pull some comments up here. Let's see. Judges can give 50-50 now, but they don't issue it. Yeah. So again, Joe had mentioned judges can give 50-50 now, but they don't issue it. I'm in the court watching that I'm doing, which again, we don't have too many judges anymore that are doing the open courts. They are basically, they're doing standard possession orders from a number of them that I'm seeing. And so they're not doing 50-50 unless they're required to do that and put that forward. They generally don't do that. Let's see, Joe's also asking here. Would like to see how this correlates to the Texas Family Code that maximizes child support. Actually, I do have, let's see here, Family Code. Let me go to the main one here. So, and again, this information is available free. I'm wondering if I got, if you go to pissedoffparent.com, you can get to the link from there, but I think, I did not. Well, my free information, you can go there and then actually it'll give you the link for that, or you can Google it, either or. But I think it's in the child support. There we go. Section 154 talks to that, but again, this thing is pretty big, so remembering very specific pieces of it. It talks about child support, where to do it. Of course, place payment is, of course, the Title 4D. Making sure you do it through there. Let's see here. Trying to see if we have anything. From income, it's pretty much a lot of your earnings. Wow, they've already got the retroactive child support piece of it in there. All right, good for them. Those guys don't waste any time. I like this. No discrimination based on marital status or parents or sex. That's actually written into the code. Good times. I think they're going to pretty much be doing again, it's not going to really impact. Now, actually, we'll take that back on. Let's see, make sure I get the right person here, because they do talk about, David Cooks does talk about child support. Oops, I'll type in support. Right. So they do talk to how, there we go. So in section B, this part right here, the court shall first apply the child support guidelines with respect to each parent without regard to the other, and then subtract the amount of child support determined under the guidelines for the parent who would be obligated to pay the lesser of the two amounts from the amount of child support determined for the parent who would be obligated to pay the greater amount. And thinking about that, that's not the shared income model. It looks like kind of actually what happened in mine. I kind of can talk to a little bit of that. What happens is, they took my income, they took my ex-spouse's income. I had 50-50. And so they reduced it by a certain amount. And then from there, they said, okay, mine it would have been like, say, $1,500, and hers would have been $500. So they basically reduced it down to $1,000, and then said that's the amount that you're paying. I'm using round numbers and all that, but that was essentially how that part worked. And it looks like this is going to be similar. Of course, there is that other bill that's going through that is going to require a shared income model, which I've actually reported on before. Sorry, I've got all these tabs open. I'm trying to remember which one's which. Best interest of the child, publication. So many. I could have swore I had that open. Maybe I guess it deleted, or I closed it down. But it talks about the child support piece. Okay, so and again, I'm sorry, it's Dutton who's proposed that bill. I don't have the number. Actually, you can go to, and I think I may have the link for it, but if you go to the Texas Ledge site, you can actually sign up to get bill updates when things move, bills are introduced, and all that. And that way, you can stay informed. That's one of the ways I do it, just to keep just keep updated on everything. All right, so let's see. We got David Barlow. Let's kind of try and run through each of the questions that we have so far. That part is bad. It establishes a precedence. I'm going to guess that, let's see. I'm not sure roughly what time that kicked in, but it sounds like, if I'm thinking of the right spot, it probably has to do with like the standard possession order or setting that piece of it up. David, if you could comment, maybe provide a little bit more information on there, we can pull that up and talk to it. David also actually commented, I think, right afterwards, that Cook's bill gives way too much discretion to the judge. Actually, David, and again, feel free, everyone comment, is every one of them, all these bills say that, they both provide a findings of fact, which is good to preserve the record. But outside of that, each one of those bills actually says that the judge can do whatever they want to do under the, but they both have to, both bills require the judge to do a finding of fact. And we all know kind of how that could work. It sounds so pessimistic, but that's kind of how that would end up, working. But the judge could still, even if these did pass, they could say, I don't think it's in the child's best interest. And actually, I may pull up with the family code, the information we have on how you determine the best interest of the child. But the judge can at any time say it's in the best interest of the child to, give the child to the mother. And actually, for those that are out there that may not know, let me see if I can get I got two graphics, and I'll actually put the website. It's actually live right now. It's from actual national parenting organizations, and I wanted to provide some links and thank yous to them for providing this information. But this is the Texas Child Support Program, and it shows a graph here on how much money is being received. And you don't need to look too closely, but we can all guess who the red is. That would be Texas. We win that one hands down. And then this other graph that they had provided shows the who the custodial parent is and who the non-custodial parent is. And it's not shouldn't be a shock at which one's blue and which one's red. Actually, in Texas, it's roughly, I think it's like 94%. I think it's roughly that percentage on the custodial, non-custodial parent, just to give you an idea, or to let you know how that how that split is. They're definitely looking for that money. Let's see here. Yeah, William had comment, about the tender years doctrine. That's that 3-year is definitely taking that into account. Personally, I think we need to either put something else in there. I mean, it's the bill, it's there, it's what we got. I don't really know where David Cook or Mays Middleton, who they were working with to get information. They may have just done this on their own. I again don't have that information, but the 10 years piece, it was just kind of odd that Mays Middleton put that specific piece in there, and I think he's just trying to, maybe giving him the benefit of the doubt, he's probably trying to appeal to females that would or those groups that would probably be against it. They're like, oh well, I'll get the child for the first 3 years, so that would stop that argument. I think maybe just trying to find a way there. Again, I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt there. See, Joe, you said here, not digging the 3-year-old verbiage in Middleton's bill. Personally, again, I'm not, as I mentioned, working off some of the other data that I have, the three is kind of really an outdated model. And if you want to look at that information, let's look at all the data that, after that mark, they, equal out. But then actually, once the kid reaches like 7 years old, then actually being around the father 99% of the time is going to be best for the child as far as development and growth and all the things they need, both from emotional, financial, and everything else. So it's almost like they need to put that part in there to be equal. Because again, as I think showed earlier, it says in the code there's no discrimination based on marital status of parents or sex. I mean, it's been in there since 1995, so they should know what that is. All right. Let's see. Oh, okay. Joe also mentioned, and I'm just going to like run down the list here. The work schedule verbiage. Yeah, I mean, uh, David Cook's, his has that 20-mile piece. I think it's Mays that has the, not workable work schedule and all that. And again, I think, everyone can agree that in the event of divorce or breakup, that, your life changes. I mean, normally if you're married or you're in a long-term relationship, the guy, would work, and I'm just trying to, I guess, putting it out there that, and then the woman, they would have that arranged. Well, since they broke up, then that option is no longer available. So he and she would need to then adjust their work schedules and life to then make sure they went to daycare or whatever that was, and do that. So I don't see kind of why it definitely needs to be put in there that based on work schedule, or maybe it's maybe I don't want to say a hammer, but maybe it's I say hammer. Got my gavel. Maybe a hammer to say, hey, look, you can't just do whatever. Your life's changing. You're going to need to make sure you're there for your child, which I would assume most of us already know this, but maybe that's why that language is in there. I don't know, but that's just kind of a curious thing that was put in there. David commented here, these legislators need to amend the bills to force the state to find a reason that equal parenting won't work. We cannot trust the judges. And that at the end of the day, I mean, I've put up in, I don't know how many other countless shows that screenshot that shows kind of what happens. Bills introduced, it waits till the end. The representative says, hey, be patient. It magically dies for whatever reason. And then they say, hey, I did my best, keep donating money to me, which I do want to get into that transparency and show you guys really what we're up against. But that's kind of the process. I'm glad that the bills have been presented. It's getting the conversation. It's at the legislative level. We're continually in their face. So all that work that people like Dr. Brooks McKenzie and Stuart McMullen, David Bellow, a number of others have done. It's definitely thank them. I would actually get a chance to thank those people individually, and so many others. I mean, I don't want to say they were the only ones that did it, but a lot of work has been done on this. And I don't want to say it's wasted time. We're advancing it each and every time. Hopefully, when enough of these things get out there, enough people get upset with what's happening, and then hopefully one day it passes. That's my overall hope for that to happen. But yeah, we can't trust the judges. At the end of the day, we can't. They're gods in their courtroom. They've recently found a way not to have open courts. That's a whole other rabbit trail to go down. Let's see here. We got Steve's comment. The 3-year-old cutover might be for nursing mothers. Oddly enough, I actually had to do a bit of research on that recently. And it said that most, again, it's been obvious. My youngest is 17, so I don't even remember back during that time frame. But I thought it was like a year, maybe like a year and a half for nursing. I mean, I guess families are different, but the data that I saw, I just did a quick Google search earlier that it was, I think, like a year and a half. I mean, what do I know? But yeah, I think they're just doing the kind of tender years. They don't want to overly upset mothers, because again, 94% of Texans, that's the way it is. And introducing a bill that doesn't have that language, I can see people getting up in arms saying, oh, I can't do that because I'm nursing my baby, and I can't. The reasons that are used to keep fathers away, quite honestly. So they probably put that provision in there. And again, we can talk through how the bill goes through Senate. And this would be a time for calls to action to get in touch with your representatives to have that bill amended as it works through the two chambers or the two areas of the House and the Senate. That might be an option. And I would like to, hopefully by the end of this call or this the show, to have kind of a call to action for everyone with sharing the information and then saying, hey, do these three things. And I'll try to make it as point and click as possible, and make it a group effort is my hope. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. So I think someone had asked. Steve was replying to Jason. Yes, it looks like they're required to provide reasons. That's the finding of fact that are actually in both bills from what I read. So if the judge says nope, you can't have equal shared parenting, they have to list those finding of fact of why. I don't want to say the parent. The dad is a pilot. He's in the military. He works third shift, whatever those reasons are. And that's why, from a work perspective, why it's untenable to make that work. So that would be, one of the reasons they could put in there that equal shared parenting would not work. The one parent has a history of drug use or whatever. I mean, different things there, but yeah, they have to enter the actual reason, which is good, because then if you decide to appeal it, what you do is when you go to the appellate court, you take your preserved record, because that's what the appellate court is going to look at, not your testimony and all the other stuff. They're going to look at what was done. Did the judge err when he or she made the decision? Did it go against the law? So we at least have that preserved in the record. And then I think Joe nailed it. Smells like big government. Yeah. The thing I try to tell people a lot is you don't want the government involved in any of this. And I'm talking to mostly women, but to men and women, you want to keep them out of it, because when you, and I have personal experience here because I was forced into it, the children essentially become wards of the state. They're looked at as dollar signs, and so do you. And it's impossible to get underneath that. I mean, real quickly, I received child support. I have 100% custody of my children. I did not have a choice not to get child support or not to get on the program. That's how Texas, that's how much how hungry they are. And if you go to Pissed Off Parent on the YouTube channel, I have a videos playing of those discussions while I was talking to the OAG during the various sessions. So it's one of those, don't believe me, go and watch and hear it for yourself. That is just how bad that is. Let's see here. Allie Cook. Is Cook on the JJFI committee again this year? Oh boy. I'm having a total brain fart. Is he? Let me see if while I'm talking on and on and on, because I had it pulled up before a couple days ago, but I had to reboot since then. Texas JJFI committee. Let's see if I can get that. And binga. Yeah, we'll do a, hold on. Sorry, I've got to use my, there we go. I got to use my soundboard. I apologize. But yeah, this is who is on the committee. We have Rep. Let me make sure. Actually, hold on. All right, yeah, I have the right. I just did a quick Google search. I didn't verify it. So this is who is on the committee this go around. So you have Rep. Dutton, Rep. Luan, Rep. Cook. There he is right there. Rep. Leah Wilson, Rep. Lopez, Rep. Martinez Fisher, and Rep. Smithy, Rep. Tellerico, and Rep. Wu. Actually, I believe this guy, and this guy, these three were all in the on the last session. They were all three of them. They were on that committee. And what I'll do is I will put that in the chat so you can have that information. I just love providing information to everybody, and I tend to go overboard with that. Okay, let's see here. Let's kind of look at some of the comments. Ellie Cook, David Cook. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Jeff Morgan, yeah. David Cook, lifetime member of the Family Law Foundation. And I'm hoping you all will bear with me, because actually I did do some research. and I really want to show because what happens a lot with this movement is, I've been sharing, and others have been sharing information about just how big this animal is. And I think when we're talking numbers and we're talking different pieces of information, I think it becomes a little information overload. So I've got some sites that will show you exactly what we're up against and how all this ties together. And I'm hoping I can tie it all together and it makes sense. But I think it's gonna just kind of let you know, because a lot of people, they will say, and and people have heard me say this, don't share your story. Don't, if you get the opportunity, don't talk about, the bigger picture. And a lot of people think, but my story is the most horriblest one in the world. And if I just tell my story to a rep or to somebody, that's going to make, Dutton, Cook, Wu, them go, oh yeah, we should do the right thing. And what I want to show you with this data is that it's just not that's not what they're in this for. They're in it for the money, clout, all those other things, and I want to show what I mean by that. So just so we're all on the same page. Again, it may not be the best pill to swallow. Actually, I think I have a graph for that. This is why I kind of throw out there that people have been duped by their own party. And I would consider myself, while I'm a conservative, I would consider myself, obviously aligning to a Republican position. And, I had to come to terms with that myself. So, all right, where am I at here? Going down the list. Thank you all for bearing with me as I got a lot of things moving around, trying to make it all work. Okay, so yeah, Jeff said Dutton's bill is 2583. I believe that is the shared income model, if I'm not mistaken. He filed a couple of them. We have the shared income model and a few others that really need to be looked at. Maybe a different show. I've been wanting to do more shows that kind of show what these bills are, because some of them are downright scary. Ali commented, at least the bill's filed to start, assuming it passes, to make Judge Menley start thinking, oh yeah, the law code is more equal. Yes and no. I mean, from looking at the family code that we have here right now, and this is again back in '95, we have the no discrimination based on sex, marital status, which should make us equal anyway. We unfortunately we know that's not the case. Of course, the best interest of the child, and there's a lot of other stuff that's built into that. They know these things, but they know that their retirement checks come from that Title 4D, those monies that are coming in because pay through the state, and so they're not going to make that logical switch. I mean, some have. I would say a minority, and probably not too many in Texas, but it's going to require that they don't have that judicial ability to make, to say, if the judge decides it should be, this is the situation. We get equal shared parenting. And again, with this bill, which is good, is they have to do a findings of fact. So it is a step in the right direction overall. I can't fault the bill or say it's a horrible bill like a number of others that are coming down the pipe. But yeah, it's a step in the right direction. So I mean, there's no heat towards Mays Middleton or David Cook on this one. I think everybody knows my position there. See, Joe, the shared parenting bills are not going to pass, but best believe the retroactive bills are going through, and that's true for those that are kind of more that are new to the Piss Off Parent channel. I've been talking for a while. We have 5. 4 in the House, 1 in the Senate, retroactive child support bills. And those bills are going to they're going to give have the father pay 9 months of the child support amount. They're also going to have, they're going to have that. They're going to have to pay for a crib or half the crib, diapers, and a bunch of other stuff. And then they're going to have to pay for her lost wages, half of her lost wages, or an equitable amount, depends on which bill you look at, and her postpartum recovery. So you have that. So a lot of stuff is coming down the pipe here. And I hope everyone can bear with me, because actually Taryn Champagne is joining us here. I'm going to go ahead and pull him in. So, we'll get him more. Again, I try to make it as professional as possible, but hey, we're having fun here. So let me go ahead and pull him in. All right, Taryn, how you doing?
Good evening. Sorry I'm late. School spirit night was tonight, so I had to go get a burger, and they weren't ready for everybody there.
All good, all good. I don't know if you've had a chance to kind of listen in on where we're at. We've actually have walked through at a high level both the bills, one by Mays Middleton and one by David Cook, and then I'm actually right now going through the just some of the comments and questions that the viewers have been asking about, and then trying to answer those as best I can, and going from there.
Yeah.
Let me kind of jump in and say, let me go ahead and introduce Taryn. And to say, hey, this is Taryn. And Taryn, why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself and kind of your background a little bit, why you decided to jump on a show at 6:45 at night to talk about the most boringest stuff in the world.
Yeah. So good evening, everybody. My name's Taryn Champagne. Kind of been in the fight since about 2015 when I got when I started the process of divorce from my now ex-wife, and basically I didn't get 50-50, right? And I thought that was normal. Like pretty much everybody else, you're like, oh, okay, you had a kid, you're going to share. Turns out, no, I got put on the expanded standard possession order and, fought my way to 50-50. I've been there since about last April. So we had a cordial agreement, 50-50 in about April last year with my son's mother. And then it was finalized back in June of last year. But, I will say that living that 50-50 life, it's a heck of a lot better. You don't squabble over petty things. You don't act like fools, because it's really on both people's part, right? Like a good friend of mine said that there are kind of two elements when it comes to custody fights. One person wants power and the other has fear of loss. So those are kind of some of the dominating emotions there. But I have been listening for about the past 10-15 minutes.
Oh, awesome.
And, so I was driving. I was hands-free.
Hands-free. A little shout out there to Judge Mousy. If you haven't watched that video, it's a fun one.
But yeah. So I guess kind of one thing I did want to note for everybody, as I was listening, as Dwayne noted, both of them require facts, findings, and conclusions of law. The only real issue I see with that is usually the prevailing party gets to write those facts, findings, and conclusions of law. So if you're Mr. Pro Se over here and you just got your butt kicked, they're probably going to write, the other opposing counsel is going to write whatever they want, and the judge is just going to sign it, because a lot of the times judges don't even write the facts, findings, and conclusions of law.
Right. So, they just rubber stamp it and move on to the next
one. They're like,
one.
Hey, attorney scumbag, write these up and I'll just sign them. So as I heard you saying, preserving the record is really key. You need to make certain that all of your objections are there, all of your case law is there. Because at the end of the day, even if this passes, I hate to be a pessimist, but the judges are going to do whatever the heck they want.
Right.
Because as you mentioned, they're gods in their courtroom. Yes. So they think they are, until you challenge them.
Right.
They don't like that.
Sometimes they crumble. So have you had an opportunity to review both the Middleton bill and the Cook bill?
Yes. So,
all right.
Yeah, I kind of read through them both this afternoon. I know Senator Middleton's bill, he filed, or it was officially filed, yesterday?
Or was it this morning? Or today, actually.
Yes.
This morning. Well, at least the date on it. Let me pull that up real quick so we can see. Okay, this is Middleton's bill. Let me pull that up there so you can see that. Is there any particular area that you wanted to kind of talk to, or just
I just kind of wanted to kind of compare both of them, right? So you've got Middleton's bill, and I'm going to pull these up on my computer so I can kind of go through them as well. It's a little easier than trying to look at this screen here.
Oh yeah, and then for everybody else, let me pull those two bills up so you can do the same. The top left-hand corner, you'll see a QR code. You can click that link for HB 3379, which is Cook's bill. And then SB 1702, the next one here is Middleton's bill. So if you want to follow along in your books, while Taryn follows along in his book, we can do that.
So let's kind of go through. Senator Middleton's bill. I think it's the superior of the two, personally. I
Okay.
mean, no bill is going to be perfect, but I think Middleton's is a little bit better. And I'll kind of elaborate once we're kind of through here.
Okay.
One of the interesting things, on that first page, right, where it notes under number or section 2A3, where it encouraged parents to share equally in the rights and duties of raising their child. They've added that in there. I really don't see that having much of an effect, personally, right? Just from
Right.
a standpoint, one parent is going to, if they're a jerk, they're going to try and dominate and use whatever they can.
Right.
I don't see how much that adding that little piece of language there really changes anything. But I think there's a good intention there, but from an application standpoint, I don't see much kind of changing there.
Okay.
I think the next part, with variations from equal or nearly equal periods of physical possession, I think that's kind of good. We're going kind of down here where he's going. It's a rebuttable presumption. I can easily see them trying to use that nearly equal possession period to be like, oh, well, it's not equal, so we need that sweet child support to fund our Title 4D agency.
Right.
And one of the issues there, right, is that even in the JJFI hearing last week, you heard the Texas legislature arguing, or I mean, the Texas Family Law Foundation, or as some of us like to call it, the Flaw.
Yeah.
The Flaw was arguing that, in fact, the non-custodial parents already have more time. I highly encourage all of you to do a public information request to all the legislators to get those calendars that the Flaw is distributing, because they said they've distributed them to legislators to show kind of what's going on there.
I think all the people that are in the kind of the inner circle are aware of a training video that the Flaw has put on that actually explains in their words how the standard possession order is actually more than 50%. I know I have a kind of a copy of it out on the Pissed Off Parent YouTube channel that you can view there, or Google that information. But just to let everybody know that they are diluted enough that they actually did I think it was a 4-part series where they talk about the eyeball to eyeball contact. And
it was a kind of a lady with short hair, right?
Yep. Yeah. And a cross on her cross necklace. Yeah. I'd like to point that part out.
Nothing says good Christianity like stealing children.
Exactly. But yeah, they for the viewers out there, that is they actually have I think it was a 4-part series, if I'm not mistaken, where they walk through how the standard possession order is more than 50% of the time, and they just don't understand why dads are upset with that. Well, food for thought.
So kind of continuing on with the bill, right? You've got section 6 being amended to read the equal parenting order. Section 153.135. They note that basically, if that they are joint managing conservators, they need to have equal or near equal periods of possession time. Now, here's where this bill, I think, kind of has some issues, right?
Okay.
They do note that you need to have findings of fact on the record specifying why it is or is not unworkable. But what really is troublesome is related to due to the work schedule or other special circumstances, such as the school schedule of the child. If you're truly trying to be involved with the child, you're going to work around that one way or another. And one of the issues, right, in Texas, we're so used to this standard possession order, this expanded standard possession order, that really not all states have. And to your point earlier, once that marriage or that relationship is broken, that contract isn't there. So you need to rework a lot of stuff. Maybe, you need to take a serious reevaluation of kind of how that relationship between you and your baby mama or your baby daddy, right, is going to work. And unfortunately, I think they would be making determinations based off of an old contract. So, for example, if Dwayne and I had a kid, because apparently, I mean,
Sorry.
it'd be a gorgeous child.
Well, yeah, half right. Yeah, he would be. Yeah.
but right. So like, say, I was a truck driver, right? And I was
Right.
away a lot, but we had the arrangement where, like, I was driving a lot, but paying the bills and whatever. They may try and order that Dwayne gets more possession access because I'm busy being a truck driver over here and not given that chance to kind of adjust the schedule, right?
Right. Well, like military. I mean,
Yeah.
you're deployed, you have to spend time.
Yeah, now that's going to be really hard. And, I also was in the military, so I know, I mean, you're straight up going to be gone, especially
Right.
if you're living in any sort of like combat arms. If you're in infantry land, you're barely home as it is.
Right.
And unfortunately, that may be one of those things where it might be unworkable. But once again, making that determination for the custody schedule is likely going to be based off of the current status quo, rather than, kind of moving forward. And that is something that I would be concerned with. The school could especially be troublesome, depending on where they are in school. The school may have been poisoned. The well may have been poisoned at the school against you.
Mhm.
And they may be like, oh, well, the kid's going to this school and, you're not welcome there or whatever. So we can't award you, whatever. It's there's a lot of,
yeah, for
wiggle
those that
room there.
believe that that doesn't happen, we had Josh Yaros was actually instrumental in getting the school lunch bill because he had wanted to have lunch with his children, and the school told him no, and so he actually worked with others to get deemed the school lunch bill passed. And I know some others were involved with that, but that's how bad it can get for parents is they're not even allowed to have lunch with their children because the school won't allow it for whatever reason. So yeah, if the other parent is poisoning the well, as you put it, that can cause a number of problems there, and that can trickle down into that final order that gets put out.
Mhm.
And like as far like other parts of this section, anything there of note?
Kind of moving on under to 2B, where it notes that if it's unworkable or inappropriate, that they may enter the standard possession order. And I do note that it says including an expanded standard possession order. I can speak.
Right.
Judges are inherently lazy, so they very likely will read and be like, "Oh, look, standard possession order. That's where
Right.
I'm going from." So, bring up Orlando's comments.
Well, it's got one word in there that if we could reword that one. Actually, I'll
Texas
say it out
is
loud.
getting ready to engage in not very nice things to children over again for another 2 years.
Yeah, it's for the Van Halen crowd for unlawful carnal knowledge. For the folks that love Van Halen, the Sam Hagar series. But yeah, that it. Well, and that goes into all the other bills that are being put out there for of course, the retroactive child support bills and those different things that are going there. Again, we have 5 bills, 4 in the House, 1 in the Senate. It's just interesting where the priorities are, as well as all these other little bills, the shared income model. All those different pieces, they're really focusing on that monetary aspect. I don't know if you've been doing the research. I think I know why that they're doing a lot of this stuff. Do you have any idea why they've promoted all these 5 bills along with everything else that they're doing?
I mean, so my personal thoughts is, right, they have minimized access to abortion over the past year. And this is, in my opinion, a lot of those Republican guys simping to try and get that sweet, sweet single mom vote. I got bad news for them. They're never going to vote for you anyways. And all of your, child support at conception bills are just going to promote more hoochie mamas. So,
yeah, bluntly put. I mean, from the research I've gathered, and again, I don't have proof of it, obviously, but with the recent loss of the Title IV funds, with that lawsuit that they lost, I think it was like a year ago, I can't remember it was in the millions, but because Texas didn't do the put Family First. They didn't implement that program through the feds. They lost several $1 million in Title IV-E money. I think they were scrambling to try to make up that deficit.
But, and I know this is discussing kind of outside the scope of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If those Republicans really want to create more Republicans, they generally come from those strong families, and
Mm-hmm.
they are doing their best to cause their own demise. I'm certain, some individuals have told them, but they're going to probably dig their heads in the sand and be like, oh, well, this doesn't happen in my church or whatever, which it does. Bad news for you.
Right.
But it's all over the place. But you're going to get more hoochie mamas, because it's like squirrels, right? You feed the squirrels and suddenly you're like, why do the squirrels keep coming back? You are essentially giving a free ticket to these single mothers to steal from the father, because that's what child support is to me. If you haven't abandoned your kid or whatever, you've been forced out of their life, it's theft. The state of Texas promotes absent fathers, and there is no obligation that baby mama even stay near the dad. So you can get the money, you can, get knocked up, and then you can move, a couple counties away and be like, oh, this is unworkable. Oh no, but I guess you have to pay me child support. How terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting more brazen with it because they know they can they're teaching others to have multiple children with multiple different men, so they can maximize, because it's 20% plus some, but 20% per kid as long as with a different father. And so they're actually going to create the problem that they allegedly are saying they want to fix. But again, they're in it, in my personal opinion, for the Title IV-D funds and all the other pieces of that cottage industry. It's
now I do have a suggestion for all you people out there in viewer land.
okay.
If I say if, but most likely it will pass, encourage your single mama friends just to name Jeff Leach as the daddy, because he probably has a lot more money than your baby daddy. And we all saw the Gabriel Cornejo case where they went after him for a kid that wasn't even his. The DNA said it wasn't his. And, just say Jeff Leach is the daddy. Say Dade Phelan's the daddy, right? They got a lot of money. They can pay a lot of child support. And they don't prosecute perjury in civil family courts. So what are they going to do? Suddenly start enforcing that? So either A, they start enforcing it, and then we get a win there that they punish perjury, or B, they mess up these politicians, and then next legislative session, like, maybe just kidding, let's get rid of this.
Yeah, because talking about those bills, curiously, none of them have a DNA requirement.
Mm-hmm.
I find that interesting. In some discussions with Carnell Smith, who's the DNA expert on paternity fraud, he's the gentleman that passed a number of bills throughout the country to require DNA testing. He, from the medical board, estimated I think it was 30 to 33% of all required DNA tests were you were not the father. I don't have
like
that
I said,
graphic.
Things get lonely at the Capitol, and Jeff Leach is a virile man apparently, and fathered all these children.
Believe me too, or believe all people. That's one that's it's coming. It's going to happen, and we need to do something about it. But looking to hopefully some good news here with Middleton's Bill. Was there any area in there that kind of gave you some heartburn that made you go, "Ooh, this is not a good thing"? I'm not trying to lead you on, but I'm assuming we both probably have the same part.
I think we've kind of addressed the same points here, right? I had a lot more problem with Cook's bill. I think what the main issue, right, is that we are not potentially giving an equal possession order because of a previous status quo. And to that point, right, where you choose to work is a constitutionally but where you choose to work, right, is your constitutionally protected right to where you choose to work, whether you want to, work as a stripper, or maybe you want to work as a banker, right? Like,
right.
You cannot discriminate against somebody based on their choice of employment. If you're taking care of the kid, you're still taking care of the kid, and you should adjust based off of a future status quo. And you know what's the beautiful thing about family law? You can keep bringing them back if it don't work, because that's how they've set it up.
That's all that money. So it sounds like, from the Middleton Bill, it sounds like you kind of worked over most of that. Do you want to jump into the Cook bill? And
Oh yeah, the Cook bill's a mess.
oh, it's a mess. Okay, all right. I again love to hear another perspective. So yeah, this is Cook's bill. Any particular area that jumps out at you? Well, it sounds like a lot of them. Oh, actually,
Okay, so
I got to do this for
let's
Jeff
kind of go
real quick.
down to the best interest of the child, right? So the
Okay.
first thing, so it's section 153.002, right? They are adding in the Hawley factors to the law. All right, so for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with, the Hawley factors are currently used as a kind of what the best interest of the child is. The unfortunate thing is I don't think the Hawley factors are appropriate to use because the Hawley factors were determined to terminate the parent-child relationship,
Right.
not to determine the best interest of the child.
And I've shared
So,
that link with everybody on all the different channels. But this right here is what you're talking about, is that was it Holly versus Adams?
yeah.
And then the information on that's what Taryn's referring to. And yeah, it just talking about termination.
Yeah, it's talking about
Right.
termination. So, I mean, let's go down point by point. Point one, the child's wishes as to conservatorship, possession, or access. That really is not an ideal situation. One, I don't think you should be putting your child in that position. I told my son I
Right.
never, ever want him to, have to say, I want to live here or there. That's not his choice. He's a child, right? And if the
Right.
kid's been brainwashed, you're screwed.
Right. And alienation occurs as a normal practice, a normal process in this.
Point to the child's current, future, and emotional and physical needs. Do you have a crystal ball? Like, these judges can barely see when they're violating the law, when they're violating the open courts doctrine, even when I tell them to their face that they're violating it. They're not. None of them also have any education. Are they all going to hire Brooks McKenzie to sit in on all the hearings in Texas? I mean,
probably
not. Any current or future emotional or physical danger to the child. Once again, that's got silver bullet written all over it.
It's going to encourage it, quite honestly, because that is the way. I mean, today the silver bullet, and for those that don't know, the silver bullet is basically when a person alleges domestic violence or violence against a child, it's a silver bullet to ensure that they get possession, because a domestic violence order gets pulled up. The judge sees that and then awards custody to that parent that alleged it. And then when it's later found out that it was nonsense, which I think is 85% of the time, then the judge says, well, it's the way it is and tough, and then signs off on it.
Yeah, because once that happens, right, judges don't want to overturn other judges' rulings, right?
Right.
Like,
yep.
And they always say, like, oh, we're erring on the side of caution. Well, and that kind of goes into, 2 and 3, right? What are the current and future emotional or physical danger to the child? Those are just absurd. You cannot predict what's in the future. To Jeff Morgan's point, yes, Brooks is not a member of the Texas Family Law Foundation, which makes him incredibly qualified to make these determinations. And if you want, you guys should send some money his way so that he can continue to advocate for us. I'm certain there's a way you can get donations to him and everything like that, because he's fighting the good fight. He is our full-time lobbyist right now.
Wow.
He is,
I do want to talk. Yeah, I want once we get through these bills, I do want to kind of give everyone kind of a lesson on lobbying and the money that's involved in that process and who's doing what and all that. So stick with us, and we'll definitely jump into that. All right, so you're on number 3. Let's see here. So, I think you're
number
on
4. The parenting abilities of the party seeking conservatorship or possession of the child. You cannot discriminate on the basis of sex or race or whatever. And really, once again, that goes back to that contract being broken. Maybe mom did more parenting time before because dad was working all the time. You're not going to get better with your parenting ability if you're not given the opportunity to become a better parent.
Yeah, seems straightforward and logical.
Dwayne, this is why you will probably never be a legislator.
Okay. I'm sure there's a
The
few
programs
reasons.
available to assist the party seeking conservatorship, that seems very much like it ties into Title 4D or any sort of social welfare programs, which the state loves its money. The
Hmm.
plans for the child of any person seeking conservatorship. Yeah, to Jeff's point, if there is no fault divorce, why is there fault-based parenting? If it's truly no fault, y'all both should share equally. If it's truly fault-based, then file for fault-based divorce. You can still do that in Texas.
Yeah.
Let's see. The plans for the child of any person seeking conservatorship. How often do you even hear that? Like, what are their plans? Oh, I want to put them in Girl Scouts, or oh, I don't agree to them going in Girl Scouts. Man, so stupid.
Right.
Um, let's see. The stability, by the very nature, divorce promotes instability in the situation, and it leads to less than optimal outcomes for the child.
Hmm.
So the other ones, act or omission, all of this is just such speculative nonsense, right? It
Right.
really goes to what Jeff Morgan said. If there is no fault divorce, why is there fault-based parenting? It should be
That's
like,
a great
hey,
point.
no fault, you both get 50-50, and you don't get child support either. Support the kid 50-50. But we'll get to that.
Right.
Keep going on. I think, to Cook's point, he's trying to make it palatable when he says they need to reside 20 miles or less apart. What is the ESPO bill? It's 50 miles right now.
Yes, I think it's 50. Yeah, it'd be 50 or 100.
I
I think
think
it's
it's 50.
50.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
50
it's
probably.
50.
I mean, I don't know how they came up with that 20 miles because I can tell you if you're, 20 miles in, Houston or Dallas or Austin, that's a lot further than 50 miles, say, if you're out in like West Texas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're in a more
That
rural
seems like a
area.
very arbitrary number. Um, I would love to tear apart any attorney's fees or numbers or whatever. So please come at me with your numbers. I'd love to tear them apart. You can watch my tearing apart of Daryl Weinman if you want to see that.
Available
Let's
on
see.
what do you know where it's on YouTube somewhere?
Yes, look, it's on the illustrious Godfather Jeff Morgan's YouTube channel.
Okay.
Just look up Weinman's attorney's fees. And
Okay.
you can see how stupid these attorneys really are when it comes to their numbers. But and then once again, right, they include the standard possession order as the first point to start at instead of the expanded standard possession order.
Right.
And
Okay.
then once again, they maintain that kind of judicial discretion on point two, which they're never going to get rid of because they have this idea that the judges are just consummate professionals and everything like that. Let's see. I do like that it is now a rebuttable presumption, right?
Hmm.
That if they reside 20 miles or less, there is a rebuttable presumption that the equal parenting order is in the best interest of the child. I think pointing that out as the rebuttable presumption is really a good thing. You have to start from that point and adjust
Right.
as appropriate.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And that's even though it's currently written into the law, I guess in the pejorative that you shouldn't be doing anything based on sex or if you're married or not, those different pieces there. But having it actually written in there that there was a rebuttable presumption that it's equal is nice to have that. I'm
Let's
sure it'll be
see.
taught.
Now, kind of this next part gets a little complicated.
A little
They're just
wordy.
kind of outlining, what the specifics of the equal possession order. I think part of this comes from their desire to have still have control over when you see your kid and everything like that. Middleton's bill doesn't go into as many specifics, whereas talking to the legislators, their minds were blown last time because they're like, well, there's not a specific schedule. What will we do? There will be anarchy in the courts if we don't give them that. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to do here to kind of explain a time on when each parent does. I can see this being very complicated to work out if you're not reading very carefully.
Right.
and very easy to mess up. And we all know that, if there's something wrong in the order, there are plenty of people will be like, oh, well, it said I get Christmas every year. And you're like, God damn it. Like, I didn't want it to be like that.
Right.
It was an accident. Ideally, right? Like, once you get equal parenting, a lot of this conflict goes away, but it obviously doesn't help everybody.
Right. Yeah. So you'll never have a bill or a law that's going to 100% fix all the issues. It's just, that's just, there's too many options. Too many people are different. Families are different. And again, this talks a lot about, married, dissolution of marriage. One of the things I find interesting, I don't know how that's going to apply, and maybe I just skipped right over it, is that, from like the number I know off the top of my head is millennials, 60+% of millennials are children are being born out of wedlock. Does this do anything for them? Is this like for a sapper? Is this, will this apply to that, or is it only for the dissolution of marriage?
Yeah, I didn't see that specifically in there.
Yeah.
I think it applies to everyone because it mentions just parents, right?
Okay.
But it's a mess. Strong families are good for society. I'm just putting it out there.
Oh yeah.
Strong families are much better for society, and kids raised in single parent households are not good for our society.
We have 40, 50 plus years, and the nightly news to show us why that having a nuclear family is optimal for child development. And it's just weird that they keep fighting that, all for the pursuit of money.
Which brings me to the next section, because once we're kind of past this,
the child support,
the child support, right? So I'm going to say this. Child support is theft. If you are there to raise your kid, them reaching into your pocket, taking your money and giving it to the other parent to spend however they want, that's theft. Mm-hmm. When parents are married, the government does not interfere with how much money you spend on your child. They don't say, Dwayne, you haven't spent your requisite 20% of your income on your child.
Exactly.
So not only that, but is a doctor's kid inherently more expensive to raise than a bricklayer's kid? No, they have the same needs. Everything else is discretionary and a person's individual choice, how they choose to spend their discretionary income.
So what are your thoughts about the shared income model? I don't know if you've investigated that or looked into that at all. Because again, they're trying to move from the current 20% for one child and do more of a shared income model. I have my thoughts on it, but I didn't know if you had a chance to look into that.
I haven't looked at that one specifically. I just kind of, was looking at this, and I've been looking at some of the other, mainly focusing on those retroactive child support bills. Once again, Jeff Morgan's point, discrimination against divorced or never married parents, right? That's essentially what child support is. It is on its very face discriminatory. The shared income model, I've had some explain to me that adjustments are made based off of the incomes of both parents, or there's like a time shared model or whatever. I think if you're at 50-50, there should be no child support. I think if you've been forced out of your child's life, there shouldn't be child support because they deliberately ask the judge to remove you from the child's life. And if you're willing to do that on your own, that's your own choice. Once again, to me, child support is theft.
Oh, amen.
But this one right here, this rep addresses the shared income model. I'll have to take a look at that. Thanks, Jeff. But to this point, this application guidelines, once again, even if you're at 50-50, they still want that sweet, sweet, sexy child support money, right? They want it going from one parent to the other. And to our point, that's kind of been going through this whole conversation. Your contract.
Sorry, had to do that. I got a free. I built a soundboard in my spare time, all free. And I get a chance to use it. And you had mentioned that sweet money, and I'm like, where is that button to push? So sorry. Here comes.
Do you have a sad trombone while we're at it too?
I do. Hold on. Oh, ask and ye shall receive. Do we do it now or wait until?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right, here we go.
This is the bad part. This is a really bad part of the bill, right? You are still encouraging theft of people's resources when you're sharing the child equally.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, you are invading a person's constitutionally protected right to spend their money how they see fit and giving it from one parent to the other. Now, my curiosity with this, because let's kind of talk over this, right? So you got parent A and parent B. Parent A's child support obligation is calculated. Parent B's child support obligation is calculated. Parent A makes more. They take how much parent A would pay in child support, take parent B's how much they'd pay in child support. They subtract B from A, and that's the amount of child support that's going to go from A to B, right? So that means you could be a high earner, right? And, parent B is lazy, and you're going to end up paying them still a bunch of money.
Right.
Which encourages, once again, it's like feeding the squirrels. It encourages hoochie mamas.
Yeah.
Right? Why do I have to work hard if they're going to do that? I got it. Your contract's broken, so you don't get to live that nice life you did before.
Yeah. I mean, that's is Jeff on a roll here? Okay.
Yeah, Jeff's on a roll.
We're feeding the squirrel here. Let's see. It is because of Taryn Champagne that the legislature limits testimony to 2 minutes. The more he talks, the more he destroys them.
Yep. And I live here. I live here in Austin, so I can go down and talk to their ear off.
Anytime.
Yeah, I don't have to pay for a hotel.
Wow. Yeah. With the shared income model, the way that works and at a high level is they basically take both incomes, combine them, and then whoever has primary custody, they would do the who has more custody and by what amount, and they would basically split it as a 66-33%, and the person that has less time pays the 66%. And under normal scenarios, it basically means more child support. There's going to be, again, some outliers that wouldn't have that. Usually, if the custodial parent makes more than the non-custodial parent, well, actually, no, that wouldn't work either. It kind of balances that out. I'd have to really figure out those small scenarios where it would be equal or less. I actually, in a previous show, I put up a link that I had that kind of breaks it out and shows them side by side. But yeah, with this one here, the 20% you have, well, I had 50-50 and took my income, and then, she refused to get a job. So they gave her the state minimum, balanced that out, and then said, okay, here, you're paying this amount. So, I hear people think 50-50, I'm not going to pay child support. That doesn't happen in Texas. I was actually paying $1,000 a month plus, medical, dental, and all their fun stuff. So,
and I mean, ultimately, right, this in it itself, kind of that 66-33, it violates one of the maxims of equity, which is kind of one of those guiding principles of law, which,
right.
He who comes into equity must come with clean hands. If you have asked the other parent to be removed from that child's life, you've caused this injury to yourself because, right, that's the idea. Well, they're not there to raise the kid, so they need to pay me. No, you asked for that person to be removed. You asked for them to be absent. You've created that issue on your own. You can't shoot yourself in the foot and file for an insurance claim. I mean, you could. I don't think they'd pay out.
Right. Yeah, he would get sued and probably thrown in jail for a fraudulent claim or something like that. But in family court, it's encouraged to do that.
And to Jeff Morgan's point, child support is for the benefit of the state, not for the benefit of the.
And for those that's actually what it says. That is the purpose of child support, is to reimburse the state. You can actually go to pissedoffparent.com unless you want to Google it elsewhere and find that information. It looks like, Taryn, you froze up there a bit. Yeah, just kind of that one. Up. Started to hear you a little bit. Yeah, I think your internet might be. Yeah, it looks like I got a data feed here. It shows that your internet connection is very low.
I'm going to turn off my
maybe jump out, jump back in. See if that works. Maybe just a connection issue. So there we go. So Taryn, is kind of giving a good breakdown of kind of the Title 4D piece. Jeff here has talked about what child support is, and again, for people that are kind of unfamiliar with that, I encourage everyone to go to pissedoffparent.com. There's free resources out there. Let me put up the site info there. You can actually scan that QR code. Go there and look under child support, and it'll have actually a cute little video made by yours truly that walks you through the history and why it is the way it is, and what that reimbursement, how that part works, the bonus check that the states enjoy. Actually, I have, I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the from NPO, and I'll put their information up as well here in a bit. But shows who collects. I don't know if that's the collection part or the bonus part. Yeah, I think that's just I'm sorry, it's the collection and distribution piece. It's not talking about their bonus check. You can actually go to the Pissed Off Parent site and get that information. So let me turn that off. Hopefully he returns and we can continue this great conversation. While we're waiting, and I'm going to probably transition over to just kind of talking about the whole process with the legislative session, and how we do how these bills are kind of work, how they get made up. And we think we have them back. All right, Taryn, we got you back. Let's
yes,
make it equal here real quick. There we are. All right, you're back. So just a glitch in the matrix. I would use my soundboard thing for the matrix, but I don't want to get too nerdy. But I do have it if I need it. I do have a matrix sound. So
I don't know what you covered, but once again, child support is to reimburse the state for their expenditures for entitlement programs like Medicaid, TANF, SNAP, etc. I believe the federal case was out of Georgia, if I remember right. Basically, a judge laid down that you're not entitled to child support because the purpose of child support is to reimburse the state for their expenditures. Now, once again, it's also, the idea is that the overarching concept is for its children that are abandoned. And I don't know many people who actually abandon their kids.
Right. Yeah, that number should be a lot smaller. I was encouraging people, I've made a couple videos on Title 4D, the history of it, and put it into a bite-sized edutainment-y format for people, so where you can go there and just watch that video, and it'll give you 80% of all the information you would need. If you decide you want to dig deeper, feel free, but this will give you a good working understanding of the Title 4D monster and how that works and why our laws are the way they are. I don't know, Taryn, if you know of other resources that are easily.
I mean, child support is just such a disgusting system. I've told other people I've used this. It basically creates golems out of people, right?
Golems, okay.
I mean, it's just like Gollum, right? In the Lord of the Rings, he's like, my precious. He wants the ring. These people want the child support, even when they don't realize that they're going to end up spending more money on attorneys than they'll ever collect in child support.
Oh, definitely. So on the bills, were there any other items that you wanted to kind of bring up on Cook's bill?
I mean, I think that kind of mainly covered it. There's just a lot of the idea is good, but he's shoved in a bunch of other stuff. And I think it's because he's a family law attorney. He's like, oh, well, we need to make certain that we're covered. And, if the judges don't have guidelines, they're really stupid. And well, I agree with him on that. I think most judges.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page.
But, his intention is, if you don't lay this out there, paint by the numbers, the judges are not going to know what to do. Yeah, and I really abhor that little child support thing at the end. 50-50, no child support. You want the money from parent A or parent B? Stay married.
Yeah. I mean, stay married, have lots of kids, grow old together, have, ensure that create the best environment for your nuclear family and your children, and have them grow up healthy and happy.
So it paused for a second. I just heard grow old and insure. I'm like, yeah, drink your insure, old people.
I'm about ready to get my first case. I'm 50 now, so I'm kind of inching out there. I know Jeff's got me beat by a couple of years, but old guy having to change my dietary stuff that I do. Well, what I wanted to do, if you want to hang out here, is talk about. I want to go to the website Transparency USA. I don't know if you're how familiar you are with that. Let me pull that up here real quick so you can see it. And I'll pop this over there so we can kind of keep all the notes there. Are you familiar with Transparency USA? It's basically the lobbying where money goes and who gives who what money.
Yeah, so I actually use a different website to look that stuff up. The Texas Ethics Commission requires you to file all of that there. So I go to an official Texas website, a governmental website, to pull the individual reports themselves. Transparency USA is good for getting a snapshot, but if you want more detailed information, right, I go to the, I think it's the Texas Ethics Commission, and they have a campaign finance thing. Jeff Morgan would know about it. He's filed complaints on campaign finance stuff.
See, we're all learning and hopefully having fun here. So that's a thing there. Yeah, I like to use Transparent. I use followthemoney.org as well. And because I think for what we're wanting to do here is kind of do that high level snapshot and look at. Oh, here we go. Let's see here. Let me pop that up on the old screen here. Oh yeah. Okay, I've been here a million times. Actually, I think this is on pissedoffparent.com. Sorry, I do so many things. It's hard to keep track of everything. So there's a spot.
Yeah, you can look it up on the filing reports, which is I think up at the top, or search. Yeah, search, and then at the very top you can search campaign finance reports. And you have to play with it a little bit, but you can search for campaign finance things. I think Naomi Fragoso had a comment that I think we need to address, right?
Oh, okay. Who was it?
Naomi Fragoso.
Okay, all right. Tell you what, why don't you go ahead and read it?
From what I've seen, whoever snatches the kids away from the other parent until their legal kidnapping court date keeps the kids. AG child support assistants train them to keep the kids away. I'd agree with it. I was actually referring to her next comment. Sounds like
next one. Okay, let's pop that
one. But I agree with what she said. Sounds like Cook is playing both sides. Would you suggest supporting that one? The unfortunate truth is, right, my recommendation would be you have to go, and if you testify, I'm in favor of the bill at these sections, but I oppose these other sections, right? And make that known, and then see if your representative can get it amended or something like that. It's not perfect. I think any bill is not going to be perfect.
Right.
And Cook comes at it from the perspective of a family law attorney,
right?
Which he's going to make certain that his buddies are hooked up and that it makes sense to them. And I get it, but unfortunately, you don't really have a choice. And there have been advocates who've argued for the kind of perfect bill. Your best bet is when you testify, say like, it sounds like, you just have to let them know what you do and do not like as parts of the bill.
Right. Exactly.
And, for reasons why, all within 2 minutes or less.
Yes. Because of you, because they let you talk on and on, then you destroy them and
come prepared, right? Reach out to guys like, yourself or Jeff Morgan or whatever, and be ready to talk, because what happened last session is they picked on the unprepared people, the people who were like the grandma who's like, I just want my son to be able to see his kid and stuff like that. Right. Which is a cowardly approach. Come fight me. Let's talk. I'll tell you, just like I told all the judges, that you're wrong,
Right. But they want the person that is, and that's one of the reasons why we want to get everybody educated and get them the information so they're able to, if little grandma's sitting there and they go, okay, that Taryn guy, not a chance in hell, Jeff. We're not. Yeah, you guys all sit down. The grandma here up front, we're going to talk to her. She stands up and just belts out the information that is going to carry some weight, and that's why we want to get everybody educated.
They don't want to talk to Jeff Morgan.
Yeah. I think they have a sign out front with the red and then thing on there.
But so to that point, right? I do want to make a thing, right? A lot of the times they will say, "Oh, well, you dads just don't want to pay child support," in a hopes to shut you down, and it shuts down a lot of people. My point to that is, I don't need to pay somebody else to raise my kid. I'm more than willing to do it myself. Shut down their argument. Say, yeah, I'm opposed to child support because I want to raise my kid.
Yeah, no, that's a good. And I've had it's funny, as things progress, and I've had people actually levy things at me, and I find it, when they start talking to me, and I do mention it on a number of the shows and stuff, but they'll sit there and say, I just don't want to pay child support. And I'm like, well, interesting you mentioned that, because actually I receive child support, so I'm a little confused as to your argument, and then that they usually block me, and then I don't hear from them again, but. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, in my situation, I mean, I'm out here, I receive it, and I'm wanting to, make this system better for all the children and parents and all that stuff. Cause I see the bigger picture. It's not about, me, but, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want my son to go through this.
Yeah. And actually, that's why I'm a decade later, I've been in this for a decade. That's why I'm still in it. I don't want my children, your children, anyone's children to go through that, because no child should have to go through any of this. No parent should have to go through any of this that wants to be in their kid's life. It's it's crazy. All right, so on the Texas Ethics Commission, I could probably do some searches, but I kind of want to keep it at a kind of a higher level. Would you be cool with doing the transparency thing?
I think the transparency is better for a overall snapshot
for what we're doing. Yeah. Let's see if I can pull up. All right, so if you go to transparency.org, and I think I have the QR code for that one, I may. I don't think. Oh yeah, I do. There you go. All right, so you can. Oh, I'm sorry.
I said pull up Jeff Leach's campaign donations.
Oh yeah. Oh, we can pull that. Let's see here. Yeah, actually, I think I was looking at his stuff earlier. So Jeff Leach. All right, I think as a candidate. So so when we have, and you'll notice who the biggest contributor is down there in the top or bottom middle left-hand corner. Let me see if I can open it up to where, actually, you know what? Let me take the QR code off so the screen opens up a little bit more. And then we'll put Taryn and myself down. Whoops, let's try that.
Yeah, I think we can take off Noemi's comment now.
There we go. Oh, yep, yeah. A lot of movement there. There's various screens I'm running around with here. Where is that one? Let's just do. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is Jeff Leach's financial contributors. So who donates to him? And this is why, your story or, your individual story isn't really going to hold one of the reasons why it won't really hold any weight with him, because he's looking at this kind of money, these contributors, different people that are giving him money to do different things. And I'll just kind of do a quick little scroll down the lane here. And again, this is all public information on transparency.org. Actually, the Taryn's site is, you can actually drill in and get more of that information, but just kind of pulling up his top donors. The first one on there is the Texans for Lawsuit Reform PAC. They've donated $113,000. Let's see, Anthony Ewing, individual. Wow, I wish I had $75,000. Oh, and we got Dave Phelan, $65,000. And then he's got some others in there as well. But yeah, this is the people that he's listening to. This is. And you can't look at it any other way. I mean, if someone gives you $75,000, you're not going to go, I'm not going to listen to.
I mean, I would be there to do what I want to do.
I figured Anthony's like, look, I want this. I want to have National Anthony Ewing Day, and I'm sure with that kind of contribution, Jeff would say, sure, let's make that happen.
And Dave Phelan puts his thumb down and says, this is what you're going to do, Jeff Leach. Ultimately, a big issue I see with these Republicans is they say that they are for minimal government interference in the personal life. But the greatest interference you can do is to tell a parent when they can and cannot see their child, and to steal from them and to give it to another person without their consent.
Yeah. They want small government, but just this alone would tell me they're a little bit more interested in other things. Actually, I'm curious. Dave Phelan. Oh my goodness, $5.6 million in cash. Wow, that is a lot of money. Let's see, where can I find? Wait, where? I was hoping I could pull it off, and I can't. Oh, here we go.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk.
I mean that, yeah, 5.6 million on hand. Let's see, he's got.
Look at those spikes. Those probably correspond with when he was becoming Speaker of the House.
Right. Yep.
So he hardly got nothing until look, he's the Speaker of the House, and then bam,
boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to offer everyone that's tuning in here or watches it later. These are the real dollars. This is actually how things are working. And then you look at who is, I don't know who Texas Sands is, but they had $3,000 to give them. Oregon State Federal Leadership Committee, federal $290,000. Yeah, $300,000. Yeah, that's a couple dollars there.
Yeah.
I mean. And this is Dade Phelan's. I like to have a little bit of fun here and pull in the Texas Family Law Foundation.
Ooh,
this is always a fun one. So this is how much they've contributed, and it's funny how they're set up. You have to look at individual transactions. It's not the Family Law Foundation. You'll never see the Family Law Foundation on individual sections. It's always Steve Bresnan or that type of thing. So we click on that. So it looks like he's it's got a summary here, $187,000. So we pull up Steve. And he's got his hands in a lot of different things. But these are, again, the lobbyists. When we talk about, the Bresnan's Family Law Foundation and all the money that's going through. And I also want to point out, and this is something I want to give credit to Middleton with the bill he filed. But, you'll see here these taxpayer funded. Just to throw it out there, it is in the way Texas law works now is that we have taxpayer funded lobbying. We are paying through our taxes lobbyists to put bills that may not agree with what we want, and our taxes are paying for it. Middleton introduced a bill, I think a week or so ago, to stop taxpayer funded lobbying.
Go give him some love. Let his office know you love him for doing that.
Yeah, actually, I'll throw up. I think I have his. Do not. Actually, when we go to the Who Represents Me, I can find it from there. But so with the Bresnans, contributions going around there.
So this is actually right here, right? I believe this is how much they are getting paid to be the lobbyist for these organizations. Because in the campaign finance reports and stuff like that, there are lobbying finance reports, and it doesn't give you a specific amount. It gives a band, right?
Okay.
We gave you this much in between this amount and this amount. For some reason, they're really squirrely on that. I don't see the problem with reporting how much you gave them, how much they're willing to, pimp themselves out at the Capitol for your cause.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, here, when you go to individual prospects, it breaks out. There's a Texas Family Law Foundation.
If I remember right, their payments from the Texas Family Law Foundation have gone up the past couple legislative sessions because we're getting smarter and stronger.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, the efforts that different people are in the pressure we're putting on, they're having to expend more money to try to squelch these bills. We of course can't say that they're directly funded. They're directly going to these representatives and telling them, here's $188,000. Dental Association, don't pass this bill. But it's just weird that different funds. And actually, I have a video that showed the Family Law Foundation paying Hut Dutton and Gina Kalani, who from two sessions ago, right after she had opposed people trying to stop that equal shared parenting bill. Suddenly, she got a very large donation from them. It was very weird how that happened, but
yeah,
this is just to really kind of give everyone a high level overview. And again, I invite them to go to transparency.usa or to what Taryn was saying, to the ethics board here. I think I may have included that link. Actually, Jeff typed in $193,000.
That's how much Retta Bowers got from the Texas Trial Lawyers Association. So a lot of these lobbying groups do not fund their money directly through their efforts. Like to Jeff's point, right? the Texas Family Law Foundation does a lot of their lobbying amounts through the Texas Trial Lawyers Association.
Right.
So they kind of hide it and be like, oh, well, it's not us. We're not spending that big money. Yeah, you are. Get out of here.
Exactly. And this is what, to the community, this is what, we're all up against. I mean, we're on the side of right, but this is what we are up against. There's a lot of money. I kind of wanted to show this one just so you could see it. This is what we're up against. So because I know a lot of people they would say, well, but I can tell my story, and that's going to change it. I don't know, Taryn. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there are some powerful stories out there that you could
Jeff
tell.
Younger.
If you're Jeff Younger, if you're George Saldana, right? I think
Right.
at this point, what it took for me to get to equal custody, that I had to, work on recusals, that I had to file complaints up and down, that there's now case law under my name, and all of that, while my wife was dealing with cancer, I had to deal with all that. And now to come out on the other side with equal custody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's one story. It's better to point out and do, I think, what, disruptive media is doing, and expose their corruption, because, man, they really hate corruption. Yes, Judge God Dustin Howell. Somehow there was a recording of that hearing that was closed to the public. And I'll tell you straight up, you need to record each and every one of your hearings. I don't care what the judges said. I've challenged judges to tell me the law that says no recording. They can't tell me. Call them out.
Yeah, there's actually almost a cottage industry on YouTube alone where lawyers are recording cases here in Texas and then talking about them in their own, little, on their channels and stuff like that. So if it's so illegal or so whatever, and I don't think anyone's ever gotten any trouble over it. And again,
Jeff Morgan's not in jail. Well, if he goes, we're rioting.
That is certainly an option. I see here Steve is asking a question. Is there anything that tracks money going from the Flaw to the TL or TL?
Is that supposed to be the trial lawyers?
I think it's the trial lawyers. Let's see. I would have to look into that and see if, and probably more, Taryn, your website or the website you were suggesting would probably be more
campaign finance reports.
Yeah, that would probably offer that paper trail a little closer, which is outside of probably this discussion. But
yeah, we've been going for an hour 45 now. So
and we've still got a lot of people on, so that's a good sign. Let's see. I think I wasn't going to talk to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should probably. You're going to go over the process, and I think that shouldn't be too hard, but let's kind of go over general demeanor when talking to the legislators and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'll put up on the screen or a QR code that links to this, and then people can read it kind of on their own. Because I think actually what you're talking about is going to be more important with the time that we have. So I'll go ahead and do that while you're kind of doing a rundown of it. And let me change this back to where you can. There we go. You can go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah. So, right. So you need to reach out to your legislators, right? Because if you don't talk to them, they're not going to think there's a problem, or they're not going to consider your issue important. A couple things to keep in mind, right, is they are not gods, and you only get better at talking with these public officials the more you do it, right? Nobody goes up there and on their first time talking to them bats it out of the park. So get used to it. Realize what you're talking about is important, and they are elected and they are supposed to listen to you. Now, granted, my representative is Talrico, so I don't know if he's going to want to listen to me, but I'm still going to try because he's my rep. But go in there, right? Before you go in there, kind of have your key talking points ready. Like, I want to talk about this. Avoid your personal story, like we mentioned, unless you have something crazy like George, where he hasn't seen his child in 2 years now, and before that was another 2 years and stuff like that, where the law has absolutely failed you. stick to general things. Do a little bit of research on your legislator. My previous legislator was interested in education. So what I did was I tied these results in fatherless households to overall poor educational outcomes.
Mhm.
Be ready for them to say no. And also you need to kind of think ahead. Like I mentioned earlier, if they're like, well, you don't want to pay child support, have a rebut. Don't back away and be like, oh, well, those are two different sections in the family code. No, own up to it. They can sense when you're being dishonest. You can tell somebody that, no, I never asked to be absent from my child's life. Child support's for absent parents, not for parents who want to be involved, or, stuff like that. And just be ready for them kind of to say no. But real key thing, have your talking points ready, rehearse them, have your 1 minute elevator pitch. They don't have time to listen to your 20-minute story, and, be able to be like, hey, do you support this bill? This is why you should support this bill. X, Y, and Z is good. A, B, and C are what makes it bad. Ask for, if they're going to support it or not. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, when you get that, because again, they're running around doing all kinds of stuff. They need to, you need to be able to go in there, have bullet points, and very succinctly explain to them, what you're there to do, so you don't lose them. If you start kind of going off in left field, they're just going to check out and be concerned about the next meeting. And that kind of like goes to the how people can like. I've offered this before, and we can actually pull it up here. How they can find out who their representatives are to even know who to get in touch with. I don't know if you want to talk to that. If not, I can go ahead and kind of walk through that.
Yeah, why don't you walk through that?
Okay. All right, let me pull this up here. So there is there's other sites, but this is just the one I use. It's called Who Represents Me. And let me pull up the Who Represents Me. Sorry, I have a lot of links and things like that out there. So let's just, okay, well, I don't have it. Could have swore that I did. I guess it disappeared on me, or I deleted it on accident.
I'm seeing this Who Represents Me.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. There we go. I knew I'd eventually see it. All right. So there's a QR code up there, so you can click on that, and it'll take you here. So once you go here, you type in your address, click. Let's see. Let's go. Keller.
Who misrepresents me?
Yeah. And then from here, this will tell you who your state rep is, who your senators are, and who you need to get in contact with. So from here, you can click if it's a House bill, you would click on your state rep here, and then you have your three. Yeah. Oh boy, I just two of my favorite. Two of my favorite people are right there. Hopefully they're not on vacation for that week, because two of these guys, I'm not sure about the third one, but two of them voted themselves a week vacation a week or so ago, even though they're in session for 3 months. But say you want to, have your representative show support or provide information to them about one of these bills. You just click on, in this case, Stephanie. Click. Oh, this is painful. And then from here, this gives you all of her information, contact information, and you can click the email button, which will open up your email client, and you can type an email to them referencing the bill number or questions or anything you want to talk to them about, because you're a constituent. You're in their district and you can talk to them. That's why you voted for them. I don't know, Taryn, do you use any other sites or other information?
No, that's the process I would take. And like to Jeff's point, ask them to support the bill. Ask them, will you support this bill?
Yeah, I would ask too that, let's see here, when also known as who represents. Oh boy, good old Jeff.
He has a knack for getting nicknames.
He does. Yes, he does. So I would say, okay, pulling back to the two bills. So for the Middleton bill and the Cook bill, which one do you think, if you had to pick one of them, which one would you say? I can't change anything on it. If I had to pick one, and one's in the House, one's in the Senate, so that's a whole other issue.
I'd probably go with Middleton's bill. I think there's a lot of stuff in Cook's bill that kind of muddies the water. Middleton's is a little bit quicker and easier to digest. I don't like the the based on work schedule thing, but you're never going to win. There is no perfect bill, despite what some advocates may think. There is no perfect bill.
Right.
You're going to have to work with it, and some movement is better than others. Last session we got Senator Brian Hughes, who did the ESPO bill that kind of slid under the radar.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
But it's better than nothing.
Right, right. As a definite move from the standard possession order. So yeah, we did get, I think people gained like a 20% additional time with their child. So I mean, that was a step in the right direction. So that worked out well. So I mean, you're thinking that the Middleton bill, of course, we have one in the Senate. Actually, is, of course, so many bills, so little time. We see which one's which as far as which one's the Senate bill, which one's the House bill. All right, so Cook's is the House bill.
1702 for Middleton's bill.
Yeah, 1702. Yeah, we got that one, Senate bill. So as far as the process, I guess our call to action for everyone that's still hanging out with us, and anyone that watches this afterwards, is I would ask everyone to click on that "Who Represents Me" QR code, find out who your representative is, and when you go there, I would send maybe I don't know if it's 2 separate emails. But send an email to your representative and say that you are in support of SB 1702, that you like it, maybe a couple bullet points. Again, think through kind of what you want to write there, and then ask if they support it once it hits the floor and goes through that process, and see if we can get some additional people on there. Same thing for the House bill, for Cook's bill, do the exact same thing.
And email the senators or representatives that bill has been referred to their committee. Not just your own, but also the individuals who are part of that committee.
Yeah, I think, let's see, where so many screens pulled up.
It's getting pretty late too.
Yeah, I know.
It's going for almost 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like to do those marathons periodically. I'll get that information out there. I think actually I included a link for it. Actually, I want to talk to some other sites, but I know we're running out of time, or everyone's kind of wearing down for the evening. Let's see here. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. All right, versus me scampering around trying to find that information. I'll get it out afterwards. Taryn, thank you for joining and sharing all of your information, knowledge, wit, and charm. Anything that you would like to say to the crowd that will be forever captured on the various streaming medias?
I never asked to be an absent parent, and I'm going to make certain my son is never an absent parent. So
sounds like you're in it for the long haul to get this done. All right. So I don't see any other questions. Again, if you have questions, be sure to share them in the stream or in the comment section. We'll go back and review those and try to get updates to everyone. Again, as the bills continue moving through, we'll continue providing updates and additional information. Until next time, everyone have a good rest of your evening. I know it's getting very late now. So it's a short evening, but for outside of that, everyone have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to y'all later. Y'all
all right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.